From the New London Community Center, inside the Washington Center, it's Meet the Mayor with Mayor Mark Herter.
Well, everybody, welcome to Meet the Mayor. My name is Mark Herter. Most people call me Mayor Mark. Thank everybody for coming. Thank you for Miss Lori Schneider for setting this together for us all. And thank you all for electing me to represent you guys and the city of New London as your mayor. I'll start out by giving you a little bit of brief introduction of who I am, where I came from, and why I chose to sit in this seat here today. A couple years ago, 2019, my daughter graduated high school, and that's what started to kick this all off. But before that, I've always been interested in our local politics and thought one day that I could be mayor. Never thought it would really happen. I had a lot of challenges to overcome, for one, public speaking, and here I am today. So with that said, I was part of the New London Wrestling program as the president for about 11 years, on and off. We switched from president and vice president, and that's where I learned to do a lot of my public speaking. 3 of my 4 children were in there. I have 3 boys and a daughter. She's my youngest, in our audience tonight. So with that, they all graduated. My daughter was coming up to graduation. She came up, and as most of you know, all 4 of them are enlisted into the military. But my daughter, I thought, well, I'm going to give her this summer before I go and jump in the political race. And she came back and said she was joining the Army. So, well, looks like I can start now, because they gave her a leave date of a week after she graduated. So I went down to City Hall and took out papers, but I was a couple days late to getting onto the ballot. So I ran as an open write-in. And with that said, running as a write-in, I learned a huge amount of city objectives. I had a lot to overcome being a write-in. All these city aldermen worked with me very well. They taught me a lot. They brought me in and showed me the ropes as we went. I started going to all the meetings and just learning what was happening within our city government, which was pretty awesome. I'm District 1, so I was running as a write-in against my incumbent, Bob Besaw, and naturally I didn't win. But it was a great experience. I learned a lot. Got to talk to a lot of constituents and business owners and such, and that was a great experience. So that leads me to the following year. I thought, well, who am I going to run against? There was Mr. Fauché, and I thought, well, I'm going to throw my hat in for mayor. I did. I went out and I got my 100 signatures and came back, and the race was on. So with that, there was a lot that went on there. I never dreamed that I'd be sitting here today. I never thought for once that I'd win. But I wanted to learn. And that's exactly what I did. I jumped in and I learned. I kept continuing to go to the meetings and talking to the aldermen and finding out really what was going on within our city, talking to the constituents, talking to everybody that wanted to share a story, just listening, talking with them. So that brings us up to election, and the rest is history. I was voted in his office. You guys chose to elect me, and then that brings us to my first day. So my first day walking into office, I was nervous as heck. A little bit like I am now. Is it hot in here, or is it just me? But yeah, I was pretty nervous. I mean, I did not know what to expect. I didn't know what was up and what was down and who was who. And I went in there and I met a lot of wonderful people. The city of New London is really lucky for all the people that are there and are employed to make our lives soar and the city be prosperous. So with that said, I got in the office, tried learning everything I could, took notes upon notes upon notes, and I tell you what, the first couple weeks I was there, I had to look at my committee members and appoint committee members. Anybody here know what a committee member is? A couple of you might. I really didn't know what that all involved, but there was a lot of stuff involved. And speaking of which, since we're on committee members, I have a list of all the committees that are on the table to my left here. If any of you are interested in running on or sitting on a committee, I'm always looking for new people. Please put your name and phone number down. Most importantly, your phone number and your name so I know who to contact. There's also listed 1 through 13 of the different committees. Please use them numbers corresponding next to your name. So if you're interested in committee number 2, just put 2 next to your name, and then I'll put you on a list. I have a rolling list. That way when positions open up, when it comes time to reappoint people, it's going to be a lot easier transition for that effect. Or if I'm not reelected, the next mayor has a nice run of a list of new people that are interested in doing such. So we did that. Then brings me to my first council meeting. Boy, was that something. Boy, I think I'm 7 deep now, and it's just finally starting to get a little easier. I was up there, I was sweating bullets, kind of like I am now. Pretty nervous, but you know what? We have a great staff that put everything together, and I have to get up there and pretty much read it step by step off a sheet, and it's all for the work that our staff does. Some of my day-to-day activity, I work a full-time job as well as a part-time mayor. And my full-time job consists of 5 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon for about four months out of the year. The rest are filled with overtime hours, 10-hour shifts, 12-hour shifts, up to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Then from there, I go down to the city hall and take care of business as what I need to do down there. So in between that time, I make myself as available to everybody that I can. And by doing that, I'm available via email. I'm available by phone, text, call. You see me at the grocery store, happy to sit there, talk to you, shake your hand. 24/7. That's the way I am. Feel free to, at any time. I'm there to listen. We're there to talk about anything. So it's really a 24/7 job for me because I believe in what I do and I believe in our city. My city admin, our city admin, is in the chair out here, Chad Hirth. Chad and I talk every day. He's a guy that's behind the scenes that pretty much runs the show, and he makes a lot of decisions daily, and them don't come without talking to everybody. I mean, there's a lot of people that make this city go and move forward, and everyone gets talked to. There's nothing that goes by. Chad and I talk all the time. I mean, there's whatever we got to do, along with the rest of the staff. But Chad is my right-hand man right there when it comes to questions, and we might lean on him later tonight. So with that said, we'll move on. There's some goals that I like to work towards. There's some goals for the city that I'd like to see the city move towards, and I'm just going to read them off a little bit, and we can move into questions a little bit later off of them goals. So I'll just start listing them off a little bit. First one is meet more of our city constituents and business owners. With that said, I've tried getting around to a lot of businesses in the recent months, but obviously COVID restricts a lot of time that we can get together. So I'm doing the best I can with that. As far as the constituents, it's the same thing. I have met with a lot of people, and that's the greatest part of my job is meeting and talking to all of you guys. And again, like I said, if I'm at the grocery store, out to eat, whatever, come on over. Let's have a talk. One thing I've been looking at is city cleanup. I think our city can use a little bit of curb appeal. And with that said, that's moving forward. It's something that I'm going to start looking at. That's something that we as a community can lean on each other and just help each other out and take a little pride back into our city and give it a nice facelift. And that's easy stuff. I'd like to see more retail downtown, grocery stores, the whole 9 yards. I mean, just more businesses. And that's not an easy task. You know, that comes with a lot. We have to have citizens that want to bring businesses here, open them, and we have to work with them to get them open. So with that said, we'll move on. Better street maintenance, work with the top department heads and set game plans to reach these goals. Now, I'm pretty sure everybody's driven on our streets, and we kind of know that some of them are pretty rough, some of them are okay, and some of them you rather just drive around. I think in any municipality that you're in, you have some of them issues. And rest assured that we are talking every day to try to figure some of that stuff out. We just recently did a CBG grant for down in the District 5 area. And that consists of the alderman and myself. We went door to door on 3 different streets and trying to do a survey. And the survey just, I don't remember what it was, about income in the area. It did not take names. It did not anything personal. It was just a survey to find out what the area is about. And that's currently going right now. And hopefully we can get a little bit on all 3 of them roads done. I don't know that we can do all 3 roads. Kind of depends on what we get for a grant. But our goal is to do maintenance and move them roads forward. Another thing I'd like to highlight is more recreation, more opportunities in our parks. We did just follow up and complete our comprehensive outdoor recreation plan, so that would help. We're also talking to some other clubs in the area to maybe get a BMX track running or better facilities, but that's another goal that I think that it would highlight our city. Public parking downtown, that's something that seems to be most prevalent to people that are downtown. It ties in with our retail downtown. Chad and I have talked about it. We've looked around. It's something that we're going to try and figure out and make more prevalent, that people can have more ease of parking. Next one I have is public involvement on city committees, boards, commissions, and representatives. I kind of discussed that a little bit earlier. I'd like to also highlight that our election is coming up. We have election of 5 aldermen, and of them 5 districts that are open, or we have District 3 that is still open. And I believe as right now that the District 3, the only thing you can do is run as a write-in at the time is elapsed for being on a ballot. But if we're looking for constituents to run for District 3, for sure. But with that said, out of the five aldermen, it was a pretty tight race. Up until the very last minute, we had 2 spots open, 2 districts open, and it was nice that at least that now it's down to 1. But more involvement will help this city be prosperous. The lack of people there to voice their opinion, it's easy to sit out here and talk and say what we want to say, but step up and do the right thing and make a difference. That's where the real work is done. So I have a goal of my own, and that is I'd like to see 3 new businesses in a north industrial park, and that's my own goal. I know we have a lot of things in the works and all over the place, and my goal is to break ground and have something committed, and that's just something on myself that I'd like to see. Continue the downtown riverfront project. Some of you have read the paper about all that kind of stuff. We have a pretty neat situation right now. We have 2 developers that are very interested in developing the property down there. And it's going to be a pretty big deal to choose just one to move forward. I'm pretty excited about that. I think our city really needs some housing. So I'm really excited to see that move forward. Another area we struggle is fill the open jobs within the city. We have quite a few that are open, and it's for a multitude of reasons. One is wages. We're losing people to our bigger cities for better wages. I mean, that's just the way it is. And so it's hard to keep our employees here, and the good employees that are trainable and that can make a difference for our city. Wastewater treatment plant is one of them. We've lost 2 people through that to our wages just aren't high enough for them. I think we're on our 3rd guy now. Director of Public Works, City Clerk, Building Inspector, just to name a few. And we do have people that are in that. We are in the process in a couple of them. But them are just a few to bring up. Which having them vacant really slows the productivity of our city down a lot, because you have people doing double and triple duties. Here's another, this one here is near and dear to my heart that I brought up and we are working on, and that is public transportation within our city. I think that our city can greatly succeed if we have public transportation. There's a lot of people out there that don't simply have a license. Some of them that don't want a license, some of them that can't have a license for whatever reason that may be. But I think we have a big need for public transportation, and I've started that process, and lo and behold, I found out that process isn't an overnight kind of thing. It's a 2-year process, and it takes time. So that's a goal of mine that I'd love to see happen, because I think that'd be a great opportunity. And the most, I'd like to see our city and our constituents make it through this pandemic. The pandemic is a hard-pressed situation for each and every one of us in this room, in this city, and we're doing everything we can to help the businesses, help our citizens to make it from day one to the last day, and all the ones in between that. And let me tell you, there's some people that are really struggling, and it's sad. So I feel bad, and we are doing everything we can to make that burden as easy as possible. I'd like to remind everybody that these are all goals, and my goals, and there's some goals for the city that are easily reachable, some that are easily to lean on your neighbor and help a neighbor out. But to reach some of these goals, it comes with a cost. And that's something that we're going to have to face. And I think at one point in time in our near future, we might have to face those decisions of cost. I brought it up a little bit earlier. I'm available by phone, email, public. I'm at City Hall most days after 2 o'clock in the wintertime. Them are our slow hours. And like I said, anytime, reach out to me. We can get together. That's about all I have. Anybody have any questions just off of that? Oh, boy. Ken, sure.
Bringing industry back into town after we lost like 7 minutes of Pluto. How are you going to make the town more attractive to bring more industries back?
Can you speak up because we can't hear?
How are we going to make the city more attractive to bring in more industry?
Do you have any goals on maybe trying to get businesses grants to redo the whole downtown and like the street?
We do have a downtown revitalization grant coming, and that is, I think, scheduled for 2023, 2024. And it's all taken process. And when we talk to businesses almost every day to come here, we have a lot of opportunities to work with different businesses. And at different levels all over. It depends on what they're asking and what they want. I've personally talked to a couple, and nobody's yet to sign on a dotted line to start digging. But there are several out there that do intend on coming to New London. It's just a timing of when. And again, the COVID, that strikes down a lot of potential builders for right now. So. Anybody else, sir?
Nowhere in your plan did you address taxes. New London, I pay 2.25% on my home value in property taxes. And it's the highest in North America. I mean, we're talking LA, New York City, don't pay what we pay. And it's not sustainable. Why don't businesses want to come here? They can't afford it. People can't afford it. If you don't address that issue, you're not getting people to move in. You're not getting businesses to move in. And you don't have a town anymore. What you just said there is great. You want to pay employees more. You want to fill open jobs. That's great. Where does that money come from? And I understand you inherited a lot of boondoggles from the people of the past, be it wheel tax, which that money, the last administration should probably be locked up because they illegally used that money to pad other things. The state of Wisconsin says that money can only go for roads. And they bought trucks, they built parks, they did all kinds of other stuff. Those people should be locked up because they committed a crime. That never happened, obviously. But nowhere in any of this is, all right, I paid $5,000, $5,500 a year in taxes. I had a house of the same value in a village in Racine County, and I paid half of that. The garbage was included, the roads were paved, and, service-wise, there's no difference. Now, they were in Racine County, they had a super Walmart and ours, they had all the things you want, they had 7 cops, and they could do it. I mean, I think instead of kicking it all to us taxpayers and saying, hey, we gotta give, I think we gotta give is over. I think it's look deep. Do you need these people? And, we got 3 inches of snow. My mailbox got crushed. I'll tell you, no, you don't. You plow the roads, they're worse. I mean, at least when they're snowing, they're smooth. But now you plow them down to pavement, they're worse. The last administration decided, okay, we got this wheel tax, we're going to stop funding roads because it's just a wheel tax. And that was a boondoggle. Enough's enough.
All right.
Because, hey, I mean, yeah, it's great. I mean, at a certain point when all these people move out, and it's just the city employees, what do you have?
Thank you for your comments. I would like to invite you to our next Finance and Personnel Committee meeting, and you'll have a lot of your answers from there. I can't answer all them questions right now. One that I can bring up is the wheel tax. The wheel tax where you claim that they bought trucks and whatnot with that money. That money is allocated just for roads. Now, I don't know if all of you know how much money that we do have in a wheel tax fund and how much revenue that we bring in and how
$100,000. I think it's what, 180 and some change? The first year it was enacted. Actually, yeah.
Well, I have the budget right here.
Right, Wisconsin did an article on it where it didn't go to the roads. You guys redid parks with it, which is against the law. It's only supposed to be for the streets.
So right, and that's where I asked you to come and join the meetings, because then you'll have a more in-depth look at what happens every day. Right here, our budget for the wheel tax is $130,000 a year. What we actually brought in was $110,000. The High Street crossing, industrial loop crossing was done, and the value of that was $105,000. So the buffer on that's a $5,000 buffer. And that's right where you should be, okay? And then that money carries over. It's all itemized out. I can't speak for years ago. I understand that you're kind of angry about the couple years ago, the tax. I can talk about what we have here today. You're more than welcome to come in and look at that. You're more than welcome to schedule an appointment with myself or the Director of Finance, and we can sit down and talk about it and see where you're at and maybe answer some of your questions and get a little better look at it, okay? Sir?
Mark, I just so appreciate you being here and asking us questions and opening up, and I appreciate your daughter and your wife being here. I think I've lived in this community for 30 years, and I feel great about raising my kids here, 4 kids and my wife, and we just really appreciated being in London. We took a walk yesterday, and I thought about, I'm so grateful my Christmas tree was picked up right away. When I went around the parks, I saw that they were cut, the branches were cut. I love the parks here. I just absolutely love the parks here. My son was home from the University of Wisconsin, Madison, and because they just, they had to be off for Thanksgiving, because he said stay home until afterwards. And he just loved using the skate park as an outlet. So I just think there's so many aspects of the town that I so appreciate. And so I just say, Tom and Mark and Chad and whoever else is here that runs the city, I'm just really thankful.
Dave, where's he?
Anybody that I know, I'm really thankful because it's a great place to raise my family. So,
Thank you, Mr. Franzmeyer. Anybody else? Ma'am?
Actually, I kind of agree. That's why I moved here just about 2 months ago. I fell in love with the area. I came up to visit when fish were running on the Holt River. That was a fantastic sight. And I just fell in love with the whole area, and I decided to move up here about a month after that. And even with the pandemic, people were nice. They were more than giving, more than willing to help. And the schools are fantastic here. I don't have anything to complain about, except for maybe the roads. But I absolutely love it.
Thank you, ma'am. We really, truly have a decent community that we live in. Anybody else? Sir?
Yeah, I'm Mayor Mark. Yeah, thank you for running. It's nice to have some new blood and young blood in your office. And going back to that wheel tax, I talk to friends and family all the time, and this topic comes up 4 or 5 times a year with just, people I don't even see but once a year. Whatever happened to the wheel tax money? And one of the things you campaigned on was openness in government. And I think it would be a wonderful thing if you would utilize the Press Star. I know that any of us could take 30 minutes of our time, go to City Hall, ask about it. Probably, I don't think we could get out of there in a half hour, but we could see the books. I know that. But people don't have time for it, and then you get all these rumors going around. And I think you do yourself and the whole city a great favor if you go right back and tell us, this is when the wheel tax started, and that portion of that year was that much money. In 2017, 18, I don't know, whatever it's been, and then let us know where it went. And that'd be black and white, it'd come from you, we'd know it was right, and you'd solve all these innuendos and animosity. I think it'd be a wonderful thing if you did it, and it'd be part of that openness in government.
Thank you for your recommendations, and I will definitely talk with Chad about that a little bit more. I'd like to expand off of that a little bit. You do not have to come to City Hall to a meeting right now. We have broadcasting on our YouTube channel. We have Facebook updates. All the stuff is out there. We have many different platforms. You can sit in your easy chair at home and have all this information while you're scrolling on your tablet. Just to let everybody know that the information is out there. I'll definitely take that in a recommendation because it's probably another avenue we can look at. So thank you for that. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I work for the city as a senior manager here, but I'm also the president of the Art League this year. And while we were doing our murals throughout the summer, we had many instances where our crew would go into a said parking lot to do a mural facade, and we ended up clearing out brush. We picked up broken bottles, diapers, things that you wouldn't even want to know, and we cleaned up 3 major parking lots during during the time that we did the mural. So our concern is big for our league to clean up the city in that aspect. And you know, the police were great. Whenever we told them that something was going on, they would get a hold of the landlord, and the landlord would have to deal with the tenants and everything. And it worked out great when we called them and stuff. But I'm wondering, Mark, what are your thoughts with the cleanup? Is there something that you've got started to facilitate a cleanup?
Yes, ma'am. So right now we are in the final stages of hiring a building inspector. And discuss with Chad, I am going to, not appoint, it's part of his job, but we are going to utilize him to go through in that avenue to start our cleanup. And I'm going to talk about it. It's curb appeal. And it's curb appeal for our community. And that's the avenue that we're going to channel through there. Right now we've been in a transition period, and some things while I've been in office haven't been able to take care of it in that aspect. But to answer your question, I am choosing to go through our building inspector and utilize his aspects into that. And hopefully it's a fast thing. I don't think that we have a huge problem, and I think it's just being neighbors and watching out for one another. And I want to take that time to thank the Wolf River Art League, because you guys have painted the town wonderful. And I'm going to use my daughter and put her on the spot. She came home from Alaska. She's stationed in Alaska through the Army. But she came home, and tell you what, she just about got whiplash trying to look at all the art going down Main Street and whatnot. But she enjoyed it as well as everybody else, and it is very beautiful. Thank you. Anybody else?
I just want to piggyback on that thought. I really appreciate the art and the change that's come about, since you've been mayor, Mark. I really appreciate everything that's been done, because obviously when you suddenly begin to see wonderful things like what the Art League has done, and also I really appreciate the communication, the videos that are being done by Casey. It gives another image of this town, and I really do appreciate the impressions of change that are coming about, the winds of change coming to New London, and there's a lot of positive things going on.
Thank you very much for your comment. And you brought up Casey, our videographer. He's here tonight, and Casey, everybody loves your work. Anybody else? Well, that wasn't too bad. Ma'am?
I have a question. Are they looking into another grocery store in town?
When you say they, do you mean city? All right. Well, with that said, it is a hot topic in town of having a city bring in another grocery store. The city itself is not responsible to bring in a grocery store. We as a community are responsible for making a grocery store want to come here. And I reached out to Aldi's because I heard all the comments about bringing in a grocery store and stuff, and I have no problem with doing it. I will email, I will call, I will do all the footwork I can to get this ball rolling. But that's the same ball that each and every one of you can do. And when I reached out to Aldi's, they simply said they're not interested in New London right now. That was. They don't know about fish. That was flatline. The only answer I got out of him, and him and I had that conversation. He just said, right now we are not even looking at New London. But the quest continues. Anybody that wants to talk to us, I'm always taking emails from people. We will talk to them. We have a lot of stuff to offer. I mean, we have buildings that are open. We have lots that are open. And with that said, the city is ready to work with anybody that wants to bring a grocery store here or any kind of retail or business. So we're open. Just come and let's hammer her out and start digging. You're welcome. Anybody else?
Yeah, when I went door to door, I got 40 signatures, got on the ballot. That was the number one thing people wanted, was the grocery store and the roads are the two number complaints that they have.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, the grocery stores, it's not like parking a car over here and saying, hey, we're up for business. There's a lot that go into it. Like I said, we can email them, we can talk to them, but, you know, any one of you can build a grocery store here. I'll be happy to work with you. Yes, ma'am.
In retrospect too, I'm thinking about the fact that we now have a new bakery in town where Bolt's Bakery was. We have a family bakery now. Even during COVID, somebody took the gamble to start the bakery up again. So that's very encouraging to me that something like that's happening. That's part of, you know, and part of our job as citizens is to go to that bakery so that it stays in town and that we have a choice between festival and the bakery for our baked goods. So to me, that was exciting. And can I ask, and do you know, and maybe Chad knows, what's going on with the old Press Star building? Somebody bought it, there's work in there. What's it gonna be? What's going on? Is it a bar?
I'm not really sure. I know April Kapitsky from the chamber deals with a lot of the new businesses as their development, but Chad, do you know?
I'm under the impression for office space, but don't take that as gospel. I'm under the impression that it's office space.
That's how I was told too by someone.
Oh, I hope they do the whole inside, because it needs it.
Don't
I
take
used
that as
to
gospel.
work there.
Does the bakery have the alley bread?
Not yet.
Randy, does the bakery have the alley bread?
Yeah.
Not yet. I said they're getting orders for the things that people are missing.
I've seen that question asked before too. I was following a lot of stuff. I do see a lot of people in and out of that store, and there is a lot of buzz about that. I'm excited for that as well. So is my stomach. Anybody else?
You forgot about the new candy store too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but there's a new candy store on Pearl.
Yeah. And that's a high school student.
That is a high school student, and she is also a member of our economic development as a student rep.
Melissa, do you have a question?
I'm Melissa Marloy, Mark, and I just wanted to thank you for making yourself available to meet with us like this. I agree with the gentleman with our former mayor that said you should maybe think about using the paper more, but also it's wonderful that you just wanted to meet with the citizens.
Well, thank you for that. And like I said, that's one of my favorite parts of my job, and one thing that I promised myself and everybody else here that I will always make time for that. You can ask my wife, because sometimes it takes me an hour or two just to go get some bread from the grocery store. But I'll never turn anybody away. I'm here, I work for you guys, and I'm always here to listen. Anybody else?
I've got a comment. So we're relatively new here. Also, we've been here about a year. And I can tell you that when we moved to the valley 20 years ago, we actually looked at a house here in New London, and it was recommended that we not move here because of certain, there were issues here, I guess, I don't know. So then anyway, we sold our house a year ago, and then while we're trying to decide what we want to do, we're renting a place. And I can tell you that we love it here. I mean, the people that we've interacted with have been so nice. And we didn't come from a big city, so it's not like we're used to, you know, like Milwaukee, Madison people or whatever, but I think that New London in the future, in the near future, is going to have an opportunity to become whatever it wants to be, and especially it can be. You know, because you look at Hortonville, and it's projected to be the fastest growing city, either in Wisconsin or in the nation. I'm not sure, I can remember. And I think that because of that, then there should be some lead over into New London, because pretty soon, you know, Portville will become Greenville, and New London will become Hortonville. And I think that if you've got the planning for that, then you can prepare and grow with that and take advantage of it. But all that to say that we really like it here, and I mean, we're more like looking, we really don't want to leave this area. Kudos to New London for really improving the place.
Thank you, sir, and I'm very glad to hear that. That's makes me happy, and I hope that you can continue to believe in that. Anybody else? All right. Well, with that, I think we can wrap it up and call her a night. And I'll hang around for a little bit if anybody has a couple questions they want to ask or talk, and we'll see you then.
Sign up for those committees.
Yep, sign up for the committees, and like I said, I'll talk to anybody and love to see and meet you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.